Hey everybody, trying out the new GoPro and going to tell you all about the trip to Barcelona and to Spain and Morocco. So we are going on a 16-day epic journey inspired by the book The Alchemist, which if you haven't read the book, you need to get on that. I read this book first about 15 years ago, maybe 17 years ago, something like that. It's been a while. And was totally inspired by the story of Santiago pursuing his personal legend and going through Spain into Morocco, and then you know the story. Anyway, if you know me, you know that I love this book, and I talk about it a lot. So anyway, get a lot of inspiration from it, including the inspiration to go on this trip to Spain. So we're gonna, there's 4 of us going, and we are going to leave New Orleans on Friday the 12th. And we are going to arrive Saturday morning the 13th in beautiful Barcelona. We're flying from New Orleans to Philly, Philly to Barcelona. We get into Barcelona about 8:30 in the morning, and we're going to go spend 5 days in Barcelona. We're going to go see Sagrada Familia. We're going to go see Park Güell. We're going to go to the Picasso Museum. We're going to go see La Boqueria. We're going to try jamón. We're going to go to Montjuic. We're going to go see the Gothic Quarter. We're going to go do a lot of things in Barcelona. We have 5 days, so it's a pretty good amount of time. We're trying not to put too many things in the way so we could just explore and see what Spain has to offer. It's like if you came to New Orleans, you know, you wouldn't want to go and just do all of the things in the touristy areas. You'd want to go and explore the culture, the people, you know, who you run into and the stories they tell and how it's like in their community versus the one that you're from. And for me, that's the great adventure of tourism and why it's fun to go. I think this is all of our first time going to Europe, maybe with the exception of one. We did this trip on our own. So we didn't get a travel agent or a tour guide or any of that. We've kind of researched it and put the whole trip together via YouTube and the internet. Really, that was the way that we figured out how to do this. When I first started to think about wanting to go to Spain a few years ago, I thought in my mind that I would have to win the lottery or something like that to be able to go, because it just seems like such, you know, I thought I needed $10,000 or $15,000 to go for a week, and you know, maybe other people think that too, but that's what kept me from trying to do this. I was inspired by a friend of mine who went to Paris with his entire family for 2 weeks, and he's not a wealthy guy. And I asked him, "How did you do that?" And he told me. So we used that method. We booked our airline tickets as far out as you possibly can. We did Airbnbs about 6 months before we left, and we booked our in-country airfare and the ferries and things like that further out. And also we booked our tickets to Sagrada Familia, to see Alhambra in Granada. All of these things that we could do as far out as you can. And if you're going to go to some of the more touristy places like Sagrada Familia or to Alhambra, it's probably best to do this way far out, because we did it as far out as you can for Alhambra, and we could only get a 7 p.m. entry, which kind of threw a little bit of our plan off. But anyway, that's what you're going to do, you know? So, so to give you an idea, we're spending 5 days in Barcelona, and then we fly to Mallorca, and we go to Mallorca from Thursday to Monday morning. We fly from Mallorca and go to Seville, or Seville. And then from Seville, we drive down, we're renting a car and driving down to Acros de la Frontera. We're going to spend the day there and then continue on to drive further south to go to Tarifa and spend a night in Tarifa. The next day, we're going to go to Morocco. We're going to spend the day in Tangier and the blue city called Shepeshuan, I think it's called. I don't know. You figure out how to say it. I'll know when I come back how to say it properly. So then we catch a ferry. We go back to Tarifa, spend the night. The next morning, which is Wednesday, we go to see the Rock of Gibraltar, and we're going to go to the top of the rock on the cable car, and we're going to go see the monkeys and the fort and all of that stuff. And then we go on to Granada and see Alhambra. And then from Alhambra, we arrived late at night into Seville. and we spend 4 days in Seville with a day trip to Cordoba, where we will we have our friend Carmen. Her uncle lives there. She's from Spain, and so she's gonna. Her uncle has agreed to bring us around and show us things. So we'll get the real deal when we get to Cordoba. So part of the plan is to try to engross ourselves in the local culture so we can learn from them and understand what it's like to live in different places and all of that stuff. So everybody wants to know what a trip like this costs. So 16 days in Europe, and what I thought would have been, I thought a week was going to cost me $10,000 or more. And I'm sure you could take a $10,000 trip to Europe if you'd like to, but we certainly didn't do it, and we didn't skimp. I think that we have reasonable accommodations, and we used Airbnb for all of our accommodations except for the last night, which we're going to stay in a hotel because we're only there for a few hours. And outside of that, all of our accommodations are at an Airbnb, and we have some really nice ones that we're going to. And so the total for the trip per person, including airfare, ferry rides, entrances to all the museums, and everything except for food and souvenirs, is the grand total of $3,664 per person. And I think that's reasonable for a 16-day trip. It seems reasonable to me. And all of this is paid for before we even leave the country. So we don't have to have a pile of money with us when we go. It's already taken care of. So we're gonna, I have a budget for food, and my food budget is 100 euros a day, which I'm told by people that have been to Europe that my budget is really, really high, and that it's not going to cost me that. But I like to be on the safe side, so that's what my budget is. So I have an additional $1,600 that I have allocated for that. So that's on top of my $3,664 person. And then souvenirs, and you got to get your mama something, you got to get your daughter something, and your brother and your sister-in-law, and your dad and all that stuff. You got to do that. So I'm going to do it. I don't go to Europe that often, so I feel like I got to get them a hat and a shirt that says, they went to Europe and all they brought me back was this shirt. I'm not really buying that shirt. Anyway, so that's the trip. That's the thing. So, if we can make these 5 days go by any faster, I'd be really happy. But that's what we're doing. And, of course, if you follow along on this, I'm planning on doing a nightly vlog every night to just kind of talk about what I saw, what I thought was interesting, pluses and minuses. And also, I'm going to do a fat guy's guide, or let me be more politically correct. I'm going to do a big guy's guide to travel, because I'm 330 pounds, and traveling is not easy when you're 330 pounds. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit. Anyway, so follow along. Super excited. Thank you.